you. Jai Radha Madhova Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhova Kunja Bihari Gopijan Nabalaba Girivardhadi Gopijana Malaba Girivardhadi Yasonanandana Braja Janarandana Yasonanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tirabana Chahode Yamuna Tirabana Chahode Jai Hurad Humadava Kunabihare Jai Radha Humadava Kunabihare Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhati Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhati Yasodhanandana Prajachana Randahuna Yasodhanandana Prajachana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tera Panachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihagoti Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihagoti Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya also Teta Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chalanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Hridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadwaita Gadadha Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhakta Vrindikajai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Kijai Vrindavanam Kijai Maturidam Kijai Jagannath Swami Kijai Yamunamai Kijai Shivani Lasi Devi Kijai Samaveda Bhakta Vrindikajai Gaur Premalanda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Shunya Vadi Paschacha Deja Tarni. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 41st chapter, text 50. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tabe Su Alankritao Pritao Krishna Ramao Sahanugao Pranataya Prapanaya Dadatur Vara Dao Varan Tabisvalan Kritao Pritao Krishna Ramo Sahanugao Pranataya Prapatnaya Prapanaya Dadatur Varadauvaran Tabisvalan Kritao Pritao Krishna Ramo Sahanugao Pranataya Prapanaya Dadatur Varadauvaran Tabisvalan Kritao Pritao Krishna Ramo Sahanugao Pranataya Prapanaya Dadatur Varadauvaran Ladies. No one else? Okay. Tabe with those garlands. Su alankritao, beautifully ornamented. Pritao, satisfied. Krishna Ramhao, Krishna and Balaram. Saha, along with. Anugao, their companions. Pranataya, who was bowing down. Prapanaya, to the surrendered Sudama. Dadatu, they gave. Varadao, the two givers of benedictions. Varan, a choice of benedictions. Okay. So before we go to the translation, I just want to mention this alliteration here that's here, using the syllable au, au, so many places in this verse, if you notice. And that's actually in relationship to Dao Ji, because you have Krishna and Balaram, there's two of them. So Dao means older brother, and Dao Ji, of course, is a respectable term for Balaram. Like you go to around Vrindavan and you'll hear the term, what? Daoji Maharaj ki jai. Daoji. Even there's a place on the eastern bank of the Yamuna River called Daoji. And it's where Balaram, Revati, had so many beautiful deities are there. Anyway, so you're all invited to come. So, translation. Beautifully adorned with these garlands, Krishna and Balaram were delighted, and so were their companions. The two lords, so you have the two, Krishna and Balaram, offered the surrendered Sudama, who was bowing down before them, whatever benedictions he desired. Wow, pretty nice. So you can repeat, beautifully adorned with these garlands. Krishna and Balaram were delighted, and so were their companions. The two lords then offered the surrendered Sudama, who was bowing down before them, whatever benedictions he desired. So there's no commentary by the followers of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, but Jiva Goswami writes something very short. Of course, Krishna was pleased, just before we read this, because it was offered with devotion, not because it was something he couldn't get otherwise, because he's actually self-sufficient. So Jiva Goswami, in his commentary, says, after giving the garland, Sudama offered respects on the ground with 8 limbs. He was also surrendered, saying, please save me. Or Krishna offered blessings to his devotee for a long time. So I'm going to read the next verse about the blessings. Text 51. Sopi vavre chalam bhaktim tasmin ekakilatmani tadn bhakteshu jaso hardam uteshu chadayam param. Sudam chose unshakable devotion for Krishna, the supreme soul of all existence. Listen to the benedictions he's choosing. These are very interesting. Friendship with his devotees and transcendental compassion for all living beings. Wow. What benediction. So now we know what to ask for when Krishna comes. Not just devotion, friendship with the devotees and compassion for everybody. And we're going to speak about those things. And Jiva Goswami comments, what were his boons? Did the devotee Sudama ask for boons or not? He asked for devotion to Krishna. Why did he not pray for devotion to Balaram? Poor Balaram. I'm sure he was feeling left out. Krishna was the Amshi, the root form of all forms, like Balaram, Akilat Mani. Of course, Echechangsa Kalang, Krishna's to Bhagavan. Swayam, same thing. But bhakti to Krishna, by this ultimate goal, bhakti to Balaram was achieved. Previously, Balaram and Krishna were described together. That's why you have this. In the previous verse, the Dao, or Daoji, referred to Balaram, older brother. But Balaram, as his elder brother, is one with him in the pastimes evoking reverence. One entity suitable for sheltering the highest powers appears as two forms. This device is a form of praise of Krishna. Sudam prayed for unconditional mercy for all beings. The first cha means but, the second cha means all. He is most merciful to all beings, but he is friends with his devotees. And Sanatana Goswami says pretty much the same thing. Though the two offered boons, Sudam prayed to Krishna with devotion. Both of them offered boons. That's also interesting. And that's why you have that so much repetition, Dao and AU in the previous verse. The word api indicates that this was his desire among many desires. He wanted bhakti to Krishna only. That was a relationship. Mother Urmila talked about that the other day. At this time, he had praised and worshipped Baladeva as well as Krishna. Why did he not ask for devotion to Balaram? Krishna is spread as an avatar. This is English is really bad, but Balaram is Krishna's avatar, and others, or is dear to them all. By bhakti to Balaram is accomplished, or Krishna is the Lord of the universe, Akilatmani. By prayers to Krishna, everything is accomplished since he is not different from Balaram. Advaita Chuta Nadi Ananta Rupa Madhyam Purana Purusham Avyovanam Cha. Doing otherwise would be inappropriate. Balaram is included among the devotees. He's actually the best devotee. Previously, they were both praised to please Krishna. The word Eva indicates exclusive devotion to Krishna. Sudama prayed for unconditional mercy for all beings. The first cha means but, the second, that's repetitive, the second cha means all. He is most merciful to all beings, but he is the friend of the devotee. So, Omagana Timadanda Shah Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshu and Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigurve Namaha. So, friendship with the devotees can also mean friendship with Balaram. It's really interesting. Really, really interesting. Okay, let's speak about the topics here. So, this is quite an enticement when Krishna comes and says, just ask for something. And it's better than when the demigods say, we'll give you whatever you want, because the demigods, their benedictions are limited, right? Whereas Krishna's benediction, he can give any benediction, including liberation, freedom from birth, death, disease, and old age, anything like that. So let's talk about what the demons ask for when they approach the demigods. And of course, those who approach the demigods are mentioned by Krishna in the Gita as Kamaistatar Rita Jnana Prapajante Devata. They've lost their brains, basically, or lost their intelligence. So you have many examples of demons excuse me, asking for things from the demigods. And of course, typical examples we always talk about are Hiranyakashipu, asking for the benediction of eternal life, can't get it. So therefore, he asked for the benediction, a trick benediction, so he could live for a long time or live forever. But actually, that benediction, the fruit of that benediction, there goes the throat again. Let's see if I have any things. The fruit of that benediction was the prediction of how he would leave his body. I have my cough drop here, so I can take my own sannyas cough drops. I'm Swarat. How? So anyway, and you find a similar circumstance with Ravana and Rakasura. But in the case of and Kumbhakarna too. I'm not going to tell that story because that would be a long story. But then in the case of Vibhishan, he asked uh, Lord Brahma for just uh, the blessing of devotion and eternal righteousness. And Lord Brahma grants it to him. And Lord Brahma also at this particular juncture uh, benedicts him with eternal life because a devotee has eternal life anyway. So, those are some of the benedictions by demons and even a good demon, Vibhishan. And then sometimes we are asking Krishna, apart from the demigods, of course, most of the devotees in the Krishna conscious movement don't approach the demigods. So sometimes we are asking Krishna for things that really are silly. And I'll give an example that Prabhupada gives about silly benedictions. There's that typical story that Prabhupada tells about the lady who was carrying firewood. And she was carrying firewood on her head. And then as she was, that's how people do it in India. That's why they have good posture. We should all try that. It's interesting. They can balance like 3 or 4 pots on top of their head without holding it and just walk like this, and even dance. So the lady was carrying firewood. She dropped the firewood by accident, an old lady. And she prayed to Krishna. Krishna appeared. And Krishna asked her, what do you want? And she said, I want you to put the firewood back on my head. And there's another story that Prabhupada told, is that there was a man pulling a boat upstream. And sometimes this happens, that pulling means he was walking on the bank of the river, and he had sort of like a rope, and he was pulling the boat upstream, and he was praying, this is very, very difficult. My feet are hurting. Because I guess he didn't have shoes. My feet are hurting. At least he didn't have orthopedic shoes. My feet are hurting, and he was walking upstream, and he said, Krishna, help. And Krishna appeared, and basically Krishna said, what do you want? He said, make the ground soft. So this is the foolishness of asking Krishna for something that's, when he can give everything, give you eternal life, bliss, knowledge, liberation, and you're asking Krishna for something very, very foolish. And so oftentimes we find people doing this. And even in the case of Markandeya Rishi, thank you. Is it offered? Thank you. Don't want to drink bogo water. Yes. It would be sinful to drink bogo water. So, otherwise we have to Shri Vishnu it. So in the case of Markandeya Rishi, he had achieved the darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engaged in a lifetime of celibacy. I mean, a long lifetime, isn't it? Phew. I mean, so many lifetimes of Lord Brahma. And Krishna says a similar thing to him. I'm going to read the benediction. Krishna says, please choose whatever benediction you desire, since I can grant your wish. May you enjoy all good fortune. So, first of all, he says, well, seeing you is the real benediction, is the only benediction I want. But I'm satisfied by seeing you. I do wish to see your illusory potency. He learned his lesson after this. By whose influence the entire world, together with its ruling demigods, considers reality to be materially variegated. So, it's quite interesting. Actually, Krishna's illusory potency is very interesting. Everyone is so bewildered, acting under so much illusion, thinking they're the body, thinking they're Americans, thinking they're men, they're thinking they're women, think they're members of a particular varnashram status, isn't it? Even in ISKCON, we have this going on. So the Supreme Personality of God, of course, says, so be it, and then went away. But according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the Lord smiled what's called ruefully. Something like that. What do you want that for? And he prefers, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, he prefers that his pure devotees stay away from his illusory energy. Curiosity to see the illusory energy of the Lord sometimes develops into material desire. It didn't in the case of Markandeya Rishi, but he had a lot of traumatic experiences in the meantime. And of course, we know that traumatic experience he has was being like drowning, basically. He didn't actually die, but drowning in the ocean of devastation and all these big fish coming and threatening him. You can imagine how it was. Because he actually not only experienced visually the illusory energy of the Lord, but emotionally too. So, it's very fearful when you see this big Timongilla fish come, open his mouth, and he's going to swallow you. And these waves, I don't know if anyone's been in the ocean, but even under normal circumstances, the waves are quite large. I've taken many boat trips, small boats across the ocean, and you got these waves that are like mountains. But these waves that Markandeya Rishi had to experience were quite bigger than that. So he was just like, he was afraid the whole time. And then finally he comes to an island, and there's a little boy on a banyan leaf, and the little boy is very attractive, and the little boy sucks him in. And he comes and he sees his ashram, and the little boy breathes out, and he's back in the water of devastation. For a long time. How long was that again? I think several lifetimes of Brahma or something like that. I mean, just like incredibly long time. So, anyway, so those are the benedictions that we shouldn't be asking for. And sometimes we approach Krishna for a benediction, and Krishna is so kind that it's a material benediction, and Krishna is so kind that he frees us from that material benediction, and then we only want him once we see him. And that's, of course, the case of Dhruva Maharaj. But I want to read a story about a great devotee who didn't ask for any benediction other than always having Krishna's association. And he was a great devotee, is, of course, the story of Kolavechra Sridhar. He was a great devotee who had nothing in this world. He would make his living by selling parts of the banana tree. And he had to bargain with his customers, especially one of his customers was the worst customer imaginable. That was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who gave him such a hard time trying to get everything for a very low price. So here, in the Nectar of Devotion, this is a very interesting story. This is Prabhupada's words. These are Prabhupada's words. There was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya known as Kolavechra Sridhar, who was a very poor man. He was doing a small business selling cups made from the leaves of plantain leaves, and his income was almost nothing. Still, he was spending 50% of his small income in the worship of the Ganges, and with the other 50%, he was somehow living. Lord Chaitanya once revealed himself to this confidential devotee Kolavechra Sridhar and offered him any opulence he liked. But Sridhar informed the Lord that he did not want any material opulence. He was quite happy in his present position and wanted only to gain unflinching faith and devotion unto the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. That is the position of pure devotees. If they can be engaged 24 hours a day in devotional service, they do not want anything else, not even the happiness of liberation or becoming one with the Supreme. Here's another. This is actually really interesting. Prabhupada spoke a few times about Kolavechra Sridhar. He said, cup, that was his business. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took away some of his fruits and dona, that means cups, as a friend. So one day Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sridhar, you take benediction from me. So he said, what benediction, sir? Well, you are so poor that your house is not even properly repaired. There are so many holes in the roof. This is from a lecture Prabhupada was giving. He said, Sridhar said, still, I've got a nice house because it's better than a bird's nest. They have no roof. This is Prabhupada speaking. And Prabhupada had quite a sense of humor. They have no roof and they live on the tree. I've got a shelter. What's the difficulty? There's no difficulty. Tushanti cha ramanti cha, devotee satisfied. In this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to offer him so many things, and he said, no, I have no trouble for this. If you want to benedict me, please give me pure devotion to your lotus feet. So, but here's the Chaitanya Bhagavat quote about the same thing. Lord Vishwambara repeatedly urged Sridhar to ask for a boon. Finally, Sridhar said, Lord, if you must give me something, then I ask for this. May that Brahmin who used to pinch my banana leaves. Now, that's like old English. Pinching doesn't mean he pinched the leaves. It means he stole the leaves. So Lord Chaitanya would just grab them. Who used to pinch my banana leaves and bark, be my Lord lifetime after lifetime. May that Brahmin who used to argue with me be my master, and I serve his lotus feet. So that's really a pure devotee's benediction. And then there's the benediction I wanted to cite about that Prahlad Maharaj asked. Of course, he was offered everything by Lord Nrsingadev. And of course, he said, I have no desire other than to take shelter of your lotus feet. And then Prahlad Maharaj, being very humble, he said, within the core of my heart is that material, because the seed of lusty desires was the root cause of material existence within the core of everyone's heart. You have sent me to the material world to exhibit the symptoms of a pure devotee. So, ultimately, we have very little time, so I want to go quickly through this. I got a lot of quotes. Too many quotes, because I wanted to read some other things. So ultimately he asked for his father's liberation. Please save my father. There's a quote here. O most pure Prahlad Maharaj, your father has been purified along with 21 forefathers in your family. Because you were born in this family, the entire dynasty is purified. So then finally I want to read about the compassion that a devotee has, because a devotee prays for compassion for all living entities. I didn't touch upon the point of friendship to the devotees, but that's mentioned in the Upadeshamrita. Dadati pratigranati guyamakyati prichati bhunkte bhojyate chaiva. The 6 loving exchanges, giving prasadam, accepting prasadam, revealing the mind and confidence, and hearing from other devotees, and giving gifts and accepting gifts. And Prabhupada said this is how our movement progresses, by loving exchanges. So, then finally, I really want to talk about the devotees' compassion for others. And I looked up all these different quotes about shedding blood for the sake of helping other people. And the reason I was doing that is because I'm going to read this to the GBC conference on Wednesday. Because every week we read quotes from Prabhupada. And this is what I wanted to read. This is Prabhupada in a conversation. It's difficult to say. Suppose I am talking to you for the last more than 1 hour. You have not become my devotee. So we have to spend gallons of blood to make a devotee. Therefore, we cannot expect many number. Another quote. So the life, they're missing the aim of life. Manda sumanda mataya. Why? Manda bhagya. They are unfortunate. So we are trying, even our Krishna conscious mission, we are trying to awaken. Still, they are so unfortunate, they cannot give up sense gratification. So unfortunate, condemned, unfortunate. Repeatedly, we are spending our gallons of blood. Don't do this. Still, they are doing. Cannot give up even sleeping. Don't we experience this? So condemned. Kali Yuga, Manda Sumanda Matayo. So it is very difficult with these rascals. Very, very difficult. Therefore, my Guru Maharaj, Gorkashordas, Babaji Maharaj, they were not preaching. They were disgusted that I have no power to reform these rascals. Better don't bother. Let them go to hell, at least. Let them. But still, my Guru Maharaj preached. He was so kind. And he asked us also to do the same thing. So it is a very, very difficult job. People are so rascal, so condemned, so sinful. It is very, very difficult to raise them. Very difficult. Manda Sumanda Matyo Manda Bhagya Padrata. Very powerful talk by Prabhupada. Another quote by Prabhupada about the compassion for all living entities. We are making them Bhagyavan. It means fortunate. We are giving them service. How to become Bhagyavan? We are spending our blood, gallons of blood, to make them Bhagyavan. Whoops. Actually, I skipped. This is the sacrifice of devotees. Just like you are poor, somebody, rich man comes. All right, take $1 million from me. You get immediately rich. So it is the devotees' sacrifice that they're becoming, just like Vasudev Dutt. He requested Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, my Lord, you have come. Take away all these people, unfortunate people, back to home, back to Godhead. If you think they are so inglorious they cannot be taken, then give me all their sins. I shall suffer. You take them. That is Vaishnava. They are sacrificing everything for these unfortunate rascals. Therefore, they are becoming very, very dear to Krishna. Krishna says, Nacha Tasman Manusheshu. Of course, this is in the Bhagavad Gita, 69th verse of the 18th chapter. Let me skip a little bit here because I had a lot of quotes about that. And here's another quote by Prabhupada. You have to spend or waste gallons of blood before you can convert a person to Krishna consciousness. It is so difficult a task. Chaivana Muni asks, Chaivana, it's not Chaivana Muni, Prabhupada's disciple. You have to spend, and then Prabhupada, he was questioning, gallons of blood, waste. Chaivana says, in what way? By talking with him, with the rascal and foolish. You tax your brain and spoil your energy, blood. Harikesh says, spend so much food. Chaivana says, so we should do that. Prabhupada said, unless you are not a preacher, you should be prepared. Chaivana, they have to do it. Yes, they cut, sacrifice life. What to speak of wasting blood, wasting life. This is preacher. Then he is recognized by Krishna. He has done so much for me. Pushta Krishna says, Krishna will give more and more energy. Prabhupada said, he is going to die for Krishna, and therefore he's recognized. Again, the same verse. Nacha Tasman Manusheshu Kashin Me Priyati Kritama. You become immediately very dear to Krishna. Your business is how to become very intimate to Krishna. That will be served by preaching. Really powerful quote here. Now here's some quotes by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur about the same thing. And you can see that Prabhupada was following the same mood as Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. No question of retiring, no question of stopping the preaching. Just sacrifice, ultimate sacrifice. That's what it means to have compassion and love for all living entities. So I wish, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, I wish that every selfless, tender-hearted person of Gaudiya Math will be prepared to shed 200 gallons of blood. See, so Prabhupada's expression about shedding gallons of blood comes from his spiritual master. For the nourishment of the spiritual corpus of every individual of this world. Another quote from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The confidential purport of the undisputed truth that is spoken boldly will be realized only after hundreds of lifetimes or even hundreds of yugas. Wow. Unless we spend hundreds of gallons of hard-earned blood, it will not be possible to make others understand the truth. That's from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, 108 essential instructions. In other words, it's even hard for us to understand the truth. But if we're ready to spend hundreds of gallons of hard-earned blood in helping others, then we get a quick and easy solution. Not easy, but quick solution. And another quote by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, is it our business to build a moth and live there? And he replies, this is about building temples. It is more intelligent to create a living moth rather than to build a moth for comfortable living. In other words, switching the words around. Creating a living moth means to attract faithful persons to surrender at the lotus feet of the spiritual master. The highest welfare activity is to attract living entities to serve the spiritual master's lotus feet by describing to them the spiritual master's glories. This is interesting. We attract living entities by describing Srila Prabhupada's glories. For this, we spend gallons of blood. Such preaching will please both Guru and Krishna. Therefore, to dedicate body, mind, and speech to such philanthropic activities is the perfection of life. These are very powerful quotes by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Here's another quote from Prabhupada. Either Indian or foreign, whoever joins us, they are not under any obligation. Our only tie is love of Godhead. It should be our definite policy that nobody is ill-treated, that he may go away. We recruit a person to join us after spending gallons of blood. Everyone comes for reformation. You cannot expect everyone to be perfect. Rather, it is our duty to make everyone perfect as far as possible. So we should be very much careful and cautious in this connection. So Prabhupada was indicating that we should also treat the devotees nicely, because we spend gallons of blood to make these devotees, and we want to keep the devotees, so we should be spending gallons of blood to keep the devotees. So these are very important points illustrating the importance of compassion for all living entities, friendship with the devotees, and, of course, love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So any questions or comments? That's right. So someone else gets an opportunity today. Anyone have any questions? I mean, these are very powerful comments. One of the reasons I put together all these quotes about gallons of blood to read at the GBC conference is that sometimes when dealing with certain members, we tend to, because of certain things they did or certain things they said, we may tend to try to, just kick them out of the Krishna consciousness movement. Yeah, demonize. Yeah, demonize is the word. Or extrude them is actually another word from the Krishna consciousness movement. But we have to do whatever is necessary to keep them within the fold of the Krishna consciousness movement, rather than. And of course, if someone like Prabhupada would sometimes, very, very rarely, reject someone, and this is because the person was blasphemous. The person was actually interfering with the spiritual lives of others. And I remember one time a devotee, this devotee asked Prabhupada, he was a devotee, what is my duty? You're my spiritual master. And Prabhupada said, you have no spiritual master. But that's a very rare, that's the only circumstance that I can think of. Otherwise, Prabhupada would cry when a devotee went away. So any questions? Any other questions? Yeah. Uh-oh. Saved by the bell or by the...
How can we keep this in the forefront of our minds so we don't...
Just keep reading about these things and see. Actually, hearing Prabhupada, one thing I do is I hear Prabhupada memories quite a bit. I mean, actually, when I take prasadam, I watch the Prabhupada memory series. And it reminds me of Prabhupada's compassion. So I don't think I have any compassion, but when I'm reminded of Prabhupada's compassion, it actually sort of awakens up in my own heart a little bit of compassion.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanvandam Maravindadalayataksham Bharhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Nandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Asa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Dipan Dikayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami 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 Govindam Adi Purusham
Tamaham
Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam
Rad. Whoops. Is that on? Okay. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate. Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite Go. Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite. Rad Hey Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate. Damadarurati Vardhana Veshe Hare Niskuta Vrinda Vipineshe Damodaru Rati Vardana Veshe Hari Niskuta Vrinda Vipineshe Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Rishabhanu Jade Navashachi Leke Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake Rishabhanu Jade Navashachi Leke Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Korunam Korumai Koruna Bharate Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite Karunam Korumai Koruna Bharate Sanaka Sanata Navanita Charite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Gokurat Tarune Mandala Mahite Gokulat Mandala Mahite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvaticachorio Sateta Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace. Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shai Makunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Maturidam Ki Jai. Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Himonamai Ki Jai. Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai. Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Haribol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Shilabhavad Ki Jai. So read the translation. O Radha, all glories unto you, beloved of Madhava, object of worship for all the young girls of Gokula. You dress yourself in such a way as to increase Lord Damodar's love and attachment for you. You are the controller of Vrindavan, the pleasure groves of Lord Hari. You are a new moon arisen from the ocean of King Vrishabhanu, and you are the friend of Lalita, and your wonderful qualities, friendliness, kindness, and faithfulness to Krishna endear you to Vishaka. You are an ocean of compassion, and your divine characteristics are described by the four Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanatan, Sananda, and Sanat Kumar. O Radha, please be merciful to me. Srila Rupa Goswami Ki Jai. Sacheto Darpanamarjanam, Mahatmagni Nirapanam, Shreya Kaita Vichandrika.
Pratipadam punamita swadanam
Jayate.
Daivam Idrishami Hajanna Nuragam Nijana Tarurapi Sahiduna Amanina Manadana Kirtaniya